Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty King Abdullah, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces Arab Army, presented the Supreme Commander's flag to Prince Mohammed 9th Mechanized Battalion from Al-Hashmi 51st Mechanized Brigade. The handing over of the banner is a show of appreciation for the bravery and sacrifices offered by members of this unit and their role in defending the country, and is part of continued efforts by King Abdullah to recognize the various units of the army. Upon arrival at the Raya Parade Ground at the Royal Court, the King received an official welcome that included a 21-gun salute by the artillery. His Majesty received NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and discussed with him ways to boost cooperation as well as the latest developments in the Middle East region. Military training and efforts to fight terrorism also figured high on the agenda, where the King voiced Jordan's desire to cement the partnership with the alliance. The meeting also touched on the need to build on existing agreements between the two sides, including a bilateral cooperation and partnership program on building the kingdom's defense capacity and renewal of Jordan's membership within the group of advanced partners with NATO for another 3 years. On Syria, His Majesty said efforts should be stepped up to find a political solution to the crisis that preserves the country's unity and territorial integrity. Stoltenberg commended Jordan's key role in bringing about peace, security and stability in the Middle East and addressing regional challenges. State Minister for Media Affairs Mohammed Al-Momani also met with the NATO Secretary General for talks on cooperation in the field of training, exchange of expertise and defense capacity building. Deputizing for the Prime Minister, Momani reviewed the repercussions of the Syrian crisis on Jordan, which hosts 1.3 million Syrian refugees, and stressed the importance of the kingdom's stability for the security of the whole region. The NATO chief underlined the importance of partnership between Jordan and NATO in addressing challenges facing the region. Talks between Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Ayman Safadi and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg focused on ways of boosting cooperation between the kingdom and the alliance. The two sides also discussed the situation in the Middle East, mainly the Palestinian issue and the Syria crisis. Safadi stressed that finding a solution to the Palestinian issue based on the two-state solution that guarantees the setting up of an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital is the only avenue to bring about regional security and stability. On Syria, the foreign minister reiterated that there will be no military solution to the conflict, adding that collective efforts were needed to find a political solution. Speaking to the press, Safadi reaffirmed the kingdom's keenness to forge closer cooperation with NATO.
We had the chance to review ways through which we could build on our very solid, very strong partnership. Jordan and NATO have had a relationship now that has been growing for many, many years. Our cooperation within the Mediterranean dialogue or within other forms of programs has been tremendously useful in terms of us being able to identify ways through which we can work towards a region that is more stable, that is free of conflict. There's been a lot of cooperation also on military training, on defense training and capacity building, and that's something for which, sir, we thank you. We thank you for the very high level of partnership that we have.
We have been partners for more than 20 years, and we are developing the cooperation based on the political pillar and practical cooperation. We strongly believe that we should continue to strengthen the political dialogue, the political cooperation, but also that there is a great potential in doing more together when it comes to practical cooperation. For instance, in the efforts to fight terrorism, to provide assistance to you when it comes to countering IEDs, to implement the security sector reform, but also when it comes to the role of women in your armed forces.
Over to Syria, where the United Nations said that it planned to send another aid convoy to the besieged enclave of Eastern Ghouta on Thursday. The UN said 14 of 46 trucks were unable to fully unload yesterday due to shelling on the town of Douma. Furthermore, humanitarian corridors opened by Russia to allow civilians to flee the area remain empty as residents fear shelling off the routes. Today, the Russian Defense Ministry offered rebels safe passage out of Eastern Ghouta with their families, but unlike in other sieges, there is no nearby rebel stronghold to evacuate to. The Russian proposal did not specify where the rebels would go to. Meanwhile, Turkey said it is working to set up camps to settle 170,000 displaced people near the northwestern Syrian city of Idlib and in Turkish-controlled areas to the east of it. Russia said it had opened a criminal case into the crash of a Russian military transport plane in Syria. The Defense Ministry said that according to preliminary information, all 39 passengers, including 6 crew members, died when an Antonov 26 transport plane crashed while landing at the base near the coastal city of Latakia. Ministry officials said the crash was most likely caused by a technical fault, adding that there were no indications the plane came under fire. All on board were Russian military personnel. North Korea is willing to hold talks with the United States on denuclearization and will suspend nuclear tests when those talks are underway. South Korea said the subject was raised after a delegation returned from the north where it met leader Kim Jong-un. Seoul's envoy also said that the leaders of North and South Korea have agreed to meet at a summit next month at a border village. U.S. President Donald Trump warily welcomed word of a possible diplomatic breakthrough with North Korea, but cautioned that it may be false hope. To France and the last day of Paris Fashion Week, where Chanel wrapped up models for a walk through a misty forest as the French fashion label unveiled its Autumn-Winter 2018 collection. Models paraded in an astounding total of 80 fall-ready looks that varied from Chanel's classic tweed to fur coats, black lace gowns and oversized scarves. The collection also included cozy looks, from quilted trousers and fur ponchos to coats with feathered cuffs. Neutral looks in shades of black and gray were predominant, though bright hues of blue, orange and pink were woven into the collection. In sports, Frenchman Jonathan Hiver snatched today's third stage of Paris-Nice cycling race, proving fastest out of a 3-man escape group in Châtel-Guyon. Astana's Luis Leon Sanchez finished second and grabbed hold of the general classification lead, with Remy de Gregorio taking third of the day. 38 seconds back, overnight race leader Arnaud Demar won the bunch sprint for fourth, but relinquished his control of the leader's jersey.
Luis Leon Sanchez, porteur du maillot jaune et blanc, parrainé par la...
And finally, for a quick look at the weather, it continues to be relatively warm across the kingdom as temperatures rise further. Amman tomorrow can expect a high of 21 degrees Celsius and a low of 12, while winds will be southwesterly moderate. In the Gulf of Aqaba, hot conditions prevail, with daytime temperatures at 33 degrees, dropping down to 19 at night. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.